somebody posted another solution with if statement. If, okay, that will work. Yes, so if statement will work too, because you're checking whether the modular is greater than 0, and then if so, you're going to add 1 to that. All right, thank you everyone for sharing your answers. For that challenge question, I think we can all get the same solution from different ways. So our next topic for today, we're going to introduce libraries. So the libraries in Python, they are like, for example, the packages in other programming language. So for example, their scikit-learn package library or their Panda library. So we're going to introduce how to use these libraries and how to load them, and how can I find out what that software or library does. So most of the power of the programming language is in its libraries. So I'm going to talk about a new topic on the library. And then we can add a little code down here. So a library, briefly speaking, is a collection of files that contains function for use by other programs. So for example, today we can learn how to import the libraries. So sometimes a library is a collection of modules. A lot of terms are used interchangeably. There is a library called math. So we could use import to load a library module into a program's memory. So import, that's a statement. Import the library name followed by the library name. Let's do math. So once we import the library math using import statement, we can use the libraries. For example, there is a py function inside the math library, and we could see how that works. For example, print py is, and then we're using the libraries and followed by a little period, and then followed by the function name within that library. So if we run both lines, we need to import our library and then use the function py inside that library to show what py is. So this will give us the py number, py is. And there are also other functions, for example, cosine, that also located in the math library, and we could use that. So we could use print function and then say, want to print cosine of py is. So now you can see that we use two functions. One is called math cosine, and then another one is called math.py. And that will give us the cosine of py. And then once we execute the code, that will give us -1. All right, so if we would like to learn the content of a library module, we do the same way as we get help for a function. For example, we can use help and then use mass, the library name, to get help. Execute, run this code, and then it will give us all of the functions located inside this library and what are their typical arguments and usage. So these are the functions located in the mass library. All right. Another thing we would like to cover is that what if we want to import specific items from a library module to shorten the programs? We can use from statement from the library name and import the function. So in that case, we do not have to every time type math again. So before we have to, when we use a function within a library, we need to type the library name and followed by a period and type the function within that library name. So sometimes if you would just use one or two functions within that library, you could just use from statement. From this library, we are going to import the function called cosine and pi. In this case, next line, when you run print function of cosine pi, you do not have to type math cosine again. So for example, cosine pi is, now you can see the difference. You can directly use cosine function and pi here without having to refer to the library name again and again. So this is an easier way if you just want to use a few functions from a certain library. All right, I'm going to take a little question time. Any questions about importing the library and using the function from a certain library? All right. Any question? No question? Oh, good. So the next thing, when you import library, you always see some people they use as, for example, before when we import the library, we use its full name, import math. So sometimes you think the math or other names, numpy, they're too long, and you would like to have one letter or two letter to give it a short name. You could use as, import math as m. And then next, when you refer to the library name, that will shorten your typing as well. So for example, we're doing the same thing. Cosine pi is, and then when you use the cosine function, you can use m period cosine and then m period pi. And then this should return you the same answer as before. So import as, that's very commonly used statement to import an external library and use a short name for that library to reduce your typing work when you refer to the same library. All right. So I think I would like to have a little challenge question. So for example, we're going to import a library and then import using mass library, import mass as and we would like to fill some blanks so that the program could print 90. So what's going on here is pi over 2 is 90. And then inside mass function, you can check on here, there is a degree function that will convert angle from radian to degree. So this little exercise will angle is equal to, you're going to fill the blanks right here. Dot degree, and then fill the blanks dot pi and over 2, and then fill the blanks here print. So our objective is to print 90 in degree format for pi over 2. So you're going to fill the blanks in this programming. I will stop sharing for one moment and then make sure we're on time. All right, thank you, everyone. Let's going back to our learning notes. So we have learned to import an external library and our objective, fill in the blanks to produce the result of 90 degrees. Right. So to make sure you load your library appropriately, I also give you the first line. So once you filled out filled out the blanks, you could paste your answer here. And our will also paste the result. Sorry. Thank you. All right. I saw a few correct answers already. We can go back to our programming here, because we have already imported this library. So here that will be M. That's our library's short name. And then what we would like to print is this angle in the degree format. So if we run this part of code, we're going to get 90. So finally, we would like to summarize. There are many ways to import the libraries. We could use from statement. From the library, import a certain function. We could use the first way of doing that, import math. This is a short way. And then if you would like to import everything, we could also, for example, import a star. So if you are using from math, import a star asterisk, that will import everything. The same thing as import math. So I think this is about our libraries. We are going to move on to our last topic. And we're going to talk about reading tabular data into data frames. There we go. So I'm going to share with you my screen. So the question is, if we have a data already in a tabular format, how can we read the data into Python? And the answer briefly is that we're going to import the pandas library, and we're going to use pandas to load a simple CSV data set. And then we're going to get some basic information about panda data frame using the panda data frame. All right, let me share with you my screen. Let's go ahead and create our markdown. Reading tabular data into data frames. So pandas is a widely used Python library for statistics, particularly on tabular data. So we could use Panda. Panda is a library, so we could use Panda library, load Panda library with the import statement. So next we're going to import Panda. Pandas, they are all lowercase pandas, as we really give it a short name as PD. And we can run this statement. The next thing we're going to load a little CSV data set. I'm going to give you a link for that CSV Oceaneer data set. Maybe you can save it in your document folder or save it in the same folder as your Jupyter notebook. Sharing.